the Fromsoft thing hasn't even really collapsed yet, and you're already seeing people like freaking out about it. They're trying to do damage control. They're trying to ignore the reality of the situation, the implications, what's been happening, because it's safe to say that there is no possible way that Fromsoft is going to avoid a Sony acquisition. They are going to be Sony's bitch within the next 3 years or so. It is going to be a complete disaster for them. They are going to be a PlayStation subsidiary. They're going to be owned by Sony. They're going to only be putting out games on Sony platforms. They are going to be casualized. They're going to lose their identity. They're going to be forced to milk the Souls brand. They're going to be forced into subserviency. They are 100% going to fail. There is no doubt in my mind that this is the beginning of the end. Sony absolutely is going to ruin FromSoft for their fans, and once again, you are going to have to cope and seethe about it forevermore. If this deal goes through, or if Sony manages to uh, go to the next logical extreme, and I don't know, like buy from Slop directly, this is immediately going to put a damper in everyone's idealized reality. This idea that FromSlop is the only video game company that puts out quality content, that they're this independent entity that can't be controlled, that it produces hardcore games for hardcore gamers, that it's one of the best video game developers in the world. They are going to be 100% controlled by Sony, and there's just nothing you can do about it. It's going to result in a complete and utter failure among the Nintendo haters. And I do think this is the big, like, the really scary part of this, because this is another example of a trend in which the games that the gaming media prop up in order to like demonize and downplay Nintendo games, the games like the Halos, the Final Fantasy Sevens, the uh, Gears of War, Dead Space, Mass Effect, The Last of Us, Skyrim, Witcher 3, Dark Souls, like all of these games that get propped up by the media, we're told that these are the industry defining classics and that Nintendo will never put out anything on that level of quality. Like every single time, within like 5 years, their entire operation collapses, right? They lose everything that people liked about them. The company starts to go under. They start putting out blunder after blunder after blunder until suddenly they're like a shell of their former selves. It happened to Square Enix, it happened to BioWare, and it's gonna happen to FromSoft. And it seems as if a big reason as to why this happens is because the more successful that you become on PlayStation consoles, the more PlayStation becomes interested in you. It's kind of like how like when you do something to like antagonize the outer gods in Lovecraft, like they'll start watching you more and they'll start like fucking with you, right? Everyone's fucked in Lovecraft, right? But sometimes they take a special interest in you. And that's kind of what happens with Sony, right? Every single time that something comes along, they think they can weaponize against Nintendo, whether it's Bungie, whether it's like their Naughty Dog or what have you. They are going to milk it to death. They're gonna beat that cow until it just spurts out blood. Okay, they are going to be a complete and total failure. Okay, like this is the typical arc when it comes to these kind of things. Like because these companies are not being propped up on like actual merit. It's not real talent, right? Final Fantasy VII is the Final Fantasy game that really made Final Fantasy popular. But when you really think about it, like the games that people really love and remember are the early ones, the Nintendo exclusives, the Final Fantasy sixes, the fives, the fours, right? These games were spectacular, engaging experiences far beyond what the PlayStation exclusive era provided. But it was the PlayStation 1 that was worshipped. Why? Because Sony was promoting it. And now, seeing how this situation has been escalating, seeing how Nintendo fans are standing up to Elden Ring, considering like how PlayStation is desperate for some kind of W against the Big N and trying to get some kind of like to strike deals in order to keep their brand relevant. Yeah, of course they're going to acquire FromSlop. This was obviously going to happen ever since like Jeff Keighley erroneously gave Elden Ring a Game of the Year award. Like when you prop up a studio that much and seriously push this narrative that it's better than Zelda, it's better than anything Nintendo does, that it's the best in the industry, of course PlayStation is going to want in on that and use it for their own purposes. And it doesn't matter that like none of that is actually true because Sony doesn't know anything about video games. They don't care. What they want is that hype. What they want is to leech off of like the genuine popularity and success over this thing in order to push their monopoly on the gaming industry. And to do that, they will outright buy out entire parent companies. This isn't unprecedented for them. And it's getting to the point where even the most hardcore of Nintendo hater cocksuckers, right? Everybody is starting to notice that the patterns because it's been happening so long and has been so consistent. People never even really got over the Bungie acquisition, and now we're being forced to deal with the Katakawa one. So, seeing this situation play out, seeing people cope and seethe about the decline of FromSlop, it's delicious because you get what you fucking deserve. Okay, by propping up a mediocre company the way you did, worshiping them as if they were the only developer that mattered in the gaming industry, like you brought this on yourself. Like I don't feel sorry for you watching this happen. FromSlop's failure was always inevitable, but to see it that's happened this way is just downright delicious. I'm drinking up your tears. I'm really, really enjoying what I'm seeing here. Continue to cope and seethe.